This is Harvard on the Map, presented by the Harvard Graduate School of Design, covering innovative ideas and thought leaders in digital cartography, Earth observation, and all things geospatial, with your host, Jennifer Horowitz.
So hello and welcome to Harvard on the Map. I'm here with Chris Sheldrick, who's the CEO of What3Words, which to my mind has become sort of a household name within the geospatial community. It's a pleasure to have you. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. Great to be here.
Yeah, so I'll hop into the first question here. So, What3Words has been used from companies ranging from Domino's to Lamborghini. And for listeners who are in the Boston area who might not be as familiar with the work that What3Words does, can you give us a little bit more of a lowdown on what the concept behind the company is?
Sure. So we divided the world into 3-meter squares or 10-foot by 10-foot squares. And we have named each one with 3 words from the dictionary. So something like toffee banana spoon is an example of a 3-word address, or index home raft is another one. And so basically there's enough combinations of 3 dictionary words that you can get around the whole world, so each of the 57 trillion 3-meter squares around the world, and name them more uniquely. And really the idea is that it's an easy to use version of latitude and longitude GPS coordinates, but something that your average human being just feels comfortable using, feeling that they can remember and communicate 3 words more easily than, let's say, a 16-digit number.
Fair. It's such an interesting concept, and as I've explained it to others, that it's such a fascinating idea. So, what is your 3-letter location, if you don't?
So our 3-word address, which is how we refer to them.
Yeah.
So for where I am right now is Filled Count Soap is the entrance of our office here in London. And yeah, if you type Filled Count Soap into the What3Words app or our website, it will show you the exact entrance. And in fact, this is a very good one because there's a big motorway outside called the A40, which I can just sort of see outside my window. And often if you put in our postcode, in fact, food delivery drivers often arrive on the middle of the motorway confused on a bridge. And so we're a good example of a business that needs to use a 3-word address where the address and postcode don't really work.
That's fair. Yeah, makes sense. So I wonder, take us through your journey of your journey into the geospatial community and what first inspired this really interesting idea in the first place.
Sure. So I guess a couple of things. One, I grew up in the English countryside, and as people may know or may not, a lot of the villages here don't have street numbers in a lot of places. You just have street name and then a house name. And a lot of these aren't understood by the popular mapping apps on your phone. So you have to use something like a postcode, which in the UK refers to one road, but then that can be a 5-mile long road and doesn't really help you. So I guess I always just grew up with nobody ever being able to find my house, and that's kind of the same today as it was back then. Nothing really changes in the English countryside. And then I went in the music business, and for 10 years I was trying to get the musicians I was working with to arrive, and that could be sort of the back of Wembley Stadium at gate L42 or something, or we were doing concerts in villas halfway up Italian mountainsides, and somehow I just felt like my job and my life was always giving an address to people that didn't take them to the right place. And in the music business, of course, everyone calls you almost all at the same time, going, "I'm lost, and where is it? And I'm by a pub, and I can't see the turning." And so I tried to get the whole London music business using latitude and longitude. I was like, "Guys, this may not be familiar to you. I know you don't work in geo, but could you just type in this 8-digit latitude and 8-digit longitude, and then everyone's going to find our gig entrance," which was great in theory. In practice, people were kind of like, "Yeah, I don't really know where the degrees button is, or if I need to use one, or what comes with the space." And I think it's just a system that people kind of aren't that familiar with, and it's incredibly error prone as well. On one of the gigs I did try it with, we were in Italy. The truck driver who brought all of the equipment from the UK drove out to Italy, and he unloaded an hour north of Rome instead of an hour south of Rome because he mixed up 2 digits of the latitude. And so I guess it just occurred to me, lat long is brilliant for so many things, and especially for machines. But if you're talking about human beings entering stuff into devices and sharing it with each other, this doesn't feel the optimal way of communicating it. And so really, when I sat down with my two friends, Mohan and Jack, we kind of came up with this idea of using 3 words. It just felt very convenient that you could uniquely name all of the 57 trillion 3-meter squares with 3 words, because our initial thought was, oh, maybe, you'd need more combinations of words or something like it. Oh, sorry, it's not enough combinations of words. You need more words in the sequence, but actually you can do it in 3 words. And so that was really our journey from idea to having a concept that we could run with.
Interesting concept. Yeah, every time I try to explain it to someone else, they're always fascinated by it, and it's so cool locations. And I do love the mission of the company. My next question, as you if you Google What3Words, which I would encourage our listeners to do, if you Google it, there's just such an interesting array of use cases. And I wondered, for you, as this company has evolved and taken shape, if there have been certain use cases that are particularly surprising or interesting for you, that you just wouldn't have thought would have been drawn to the service. Yeah.
I think, I mean, we always knew that What3Words would have very wide applications, but I think perhaps the order in which they came about surprised us quite a lot. Like our first sort of big government client was the Mongolian Postal Service, which was not, I'll be honest, the first target business that we had on our business plan. But I met a guy there who had actually bought a third of the Mongolian Postal Service, and then sort of revealed that they did have a lot of problems with deliveries. And you can post a letter to Mongolia. In fact, you can just write the 3 words and the person's name, and it will arrive at the destination, and it is supported. In fact, I don't know if the TV show QI, I think it's exported to the States from the UK, but there's a great episode where they actually tested it and sent a letter to Mongolia with just the 3 words in the name, and it arrived. So that was certainly kind of an unusual thing in the sequence of events, but it was really powerful for telling our story, that people go, okay, this is a global problem. Wherever you are in the world, from my village is one thing, but there are entire countries that struggle with address issues, of which there are very many, and we've really sort of dotted around the world, got use cases and users together from all number of things. And then came car navigation, where we're now built into, it was Mercedes-Benz was the first car company to build us into their navigation system, where you can type the 3 words in, but also speak them. And as we all know, voice assistants are becoming really popular. And it just felt like this game changer to get into a car, speak 3 words, and the car takes you to a 3-meter square, whereas in the past you'd always have to like twist this dial and go sort of letter by letter, and car navigation systems were never very popular with people. So and then after Mercedes came all these others. We now have Mitsubishi, Tata Motors, Lamborghini, a whole bunch of others who are bringing this into their navigation systems. And then I guess even into use cases like drones. Royal Mail in the UK have announced that they're going to do drone delivery with What3Words addresses. So all sorts of brilliant use cases. The one we're focused on at the moment is what I call like more traditional e-commerce and logistics delivery, where people just want to get a package delivered to their house without the driver either calling them or getting lost or not coming at all. And this is especially relevant in the rural areas, but in many developing countries all over the country. And that area is really taking off for us at the moment.
Fascinating. It's really just interesting to see all these different uses, and the internal car navigation is wonderful. Yeah, my dad could really stand to use from only 3 words instead of having to say the address. It's horrible. It's such an interesting use. It's so many interesting use cases. I could keep you here all day because I have so many other questions that stem off of that, but I won't. So
Sure.
I'll hop into our next question. So how do you see the company evolving within the next 10 years? What do you see as the next steps in the company's evolution?
So I think it's really about getting What3Words used in everyday life. So a lot of people now know the concept, which is great, and they might have found, because a lot of people, they want to go get the What3Words app and find the 3 words for their house and the front door and the back door. And that's a great way to get associated with it. But then it's about, okay, how can I use this every day? And what we've been really successful in is some initial use cases. So here in the UK, 85% of the country, you can use us with the emergency services. So police, fire, and ambulance. You can call 999, our equivalent of 911, and you can give a location over the phone. And this got What3Words very well sort of connected into the consumer psyche here, thinking, okay, well, that's really good to know that if I'm in the middle of a forest and I need an ambulance, I've now got a means of telling them where I am, because most often it's actually not possible to get a really accurate location on your phone, even though people often think they can. So that use case made us very, very popular here in the UK. Similar thing starting actually in the US with the LA Fire Department, who's integrated What3Words, and many others around the country now coming. But what we want to take it from is the app that you have on your phone, which you might know the concept and or could use in an emergency to. I'm going to use it every day to get my deliveries, to be able to put it into any navigation system, to use it with ride-hailing apps that people are obviously using many times a day, so that you just start to think of it as what you would use instead of an address. And then also for international travel. So global world out there, but really tough. I went to Japan recently. I don't have Japanese characters, or sorry, I probably do, but I don't know how to use them. And just being able to navigate, and people very helpfully gave me 3-word addresses to help me get around Japan. And it's just something that I think wherever you show up in the world, if there's a scrap of paper with 3 slashes, which is like our logo, and then 3 words, I just want everyone to know what they are, how to use it. And for us, that is success.
Well, I think it's a wonderful mission. And as a computer science student, we often deal with issues of integer overflow, where there's too many numbers in a particular address, and it seems like a really interesting way to tackle that problem.
Yeah, it's funny actually when you say that. There's a great blog post somewhere, I think written by a computer science student or similar, where they talk about why addresses are irregular. And there's all these kind of edge cases. Like I think there's a street with a -1 number on it somewhere in the UK, and then there's a street where it has 2 number 30s on the same street, and all these places which if you're trying to design an IT system to handle the way addresses work, there's enough edge cases to make everyone's kind of to make everyone cry quite hard. So it's definitely worth finding. It's easily Googleable, but addresses, because I guess they were invented 300 years ago, probably more. They are pretty irregular with loads of weird things that have just evolved over time. But no one then was thinking about putting them into smartphone devices. And back then they were like, yeah, let's just make 14 roads in London and call them all Church Road. And actually nobody was thinking about how the Mercedes navigation system is going to be like, I don't want to, or I can't display 14 church roads, and what do I do? And what is it? I think we've got 130 streets which are called Juarez in Mexico City. Again, they probably weren't thinking about smartphones. So I would hope for any computer scientist trying to actually work with addresses, What3Words, the fact we're just 3 words everywhere in the world, probably makes a few things a bit simpler.
Definitely. Well, I'll cap it off with our final question. Thank you again for your time. Final question, I ask all of my interviewees on the program to describe a time where you were lost, whether that's physically, as in you're lost in a forest, or metaphorically when you were lost in your life or career, and how you found your way back again.
Sure. So I mean, I guess probably one of the times where I was lost would be back in my music business days. When you're actually doing music for a job, it is incredibly stressful when you're lost, because you're normally trying to be at a concert at a time to actually be on stage. And I remember doing a gig with the band Chic, Nile Rodgers Chic, who had loads of great hits in the 80s, and they'd sort of flown into the UK to do this gig. And on the way there, the 2 buses, this band was split up into 2 vehicles, and one half made it to the gig venue fine, and then the other half did not. And basically the sort of lost half of Chic became like the bane of my existence. and I was absolutely terrified that we would, and your the things which go through your head is like, how is this going to sound if we only have like drums, one guitar, half a backing singer, and obviously it's not going to be great. And so yes, I think it was just like, as ever, and this was probably 10 years ago plus, as ever, you sort of solve it with people finding like one bar of phone signal in the middle of a rural area, which is enough to try and cobble stuff together. But incredibly stressful. And so I would say that I aspire both physically and metaphorically to be as unlost as possible going forward, since those kind of stressful situations.
Wow. Well, definitely What3Words will help. I, I again, I'm such a fan, genuinely, of the concept and of the, of the service. And I hope our paths cross again soon. Thanks for coming on the program.
Total pleasure. Thank you so much, Jennifer.